This talk is about memorialising, in particular public memorials. Let's start with a definition. Memorial, a statue or structure established to remind people of a person or event. A war memorial, a building, monument, statue or other edifice to celebrate a war or victory, or increasingly to commemorate those who died or were injured in a war. Let's look at some different kinds of memorials. Here you can see Camp Barker Memorial, designed by AFTA Architects. It frames the site's history at Camp Barker, a Civil War contraband camp with 3 entry gateways to a school in Washington, D.C. During that Civil War, Union forces used the term contraband to describe formerly enslaved people. You can see it forms part of daily life, daily ritual at the school. It strives to promote an awareness and dialogue with the past as part of the fabric of everyday life. Materials are important. It's weatherproof, fireproof. Here, British Ghanaian architect David Adjaye has produced a concrete pavilion in Johannesburg, South Africa, as a memorial to trumpeter and anti-apartheid campaigner Hugh Masekela. This simple pavilion is constructed from pre-cast concrete. 5 columns with different shape profiles support a perforated roof designed to mimic local flora. It connects to and reflects its physical environment. African monuments, Adjaye says, are a place of gathering and reflection. They help us to edify the significance of our ancestors, our heritage and culture. Monuments, he says, act as a reminder of our duty in the present to honour the past. They spur us to make a better future. This is the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. It is the USA's first memorial dedicated to the legacy of enslaved black people. Here are some of the comments when the project was proposed. This is something our children need to know so they can understand the struggle. It's going to cause an uproar and open old wounds. Keenan, a Native American, said she would never visit the memorial and was worried it would exacerbate racism. These jars on the right are filled with soil from the sites of killings. Consider again objects and their agency. This is Judenplatz Holocaust Memorial, or the Nameless Library, and it stands in Vienna. It is a central memorial for the Austrian victims of the Holocaust and is designed by British artist Rachel Whiteread. Have a look. This memorial is closed. There is no interior. A pair of doors at one end of the building are sealed shut. There are no windows. It's a single-story building. The walls are covered from top to bottom in row upon row of books. We can see the edges of the book covers, the closed pages. It's an inverted library in concrete, and the proportions are derived from those found in a room in the house in the square. It's about histories and stories. Writer James Edward Young calls it a counter-memorial. Can you think of any objections that were levelled at the installation of such a memorial? Here are some of them. It might be too cryptic to understand or accept. Whiteread, the sculptor, was not Jewish. There may be a loss of business, a loss of car parking spaces. The square would be disfigured by the concrete colossus. The memorial might become a target for neo-Nazis. This is the cenotaph in Whitehall, London, designed by Edwin Lutyens. Lutyens' design was criticised by some for its complete lack of Christian symbolism. He wanted forms which had meaning, irrespective of creed or caste, as he put it. Originally intended to be a temporary structure of wood and plaster, it was translated into Portland stone. cenotaph means empty tomb. There were no names inscribed on the cenotaph, which allowed individuals to assign their own meaning to the memorial. Here you can see a temple by Seoul-based studio Wise Architecture, built on the top of the foundations of an older temple. This prayer hall was dedicated to the victims of a ferry disaster in South Korea, killing 304 people. Made of bamboo and steel, it's a temporary intervention. For 1,000 days, this was a prayer site. This memorial in Norway commemorates the trial and execution of 91 people for witchcraft several centuries ago. A collaboration between Peter Zumthor and Louise Bourgeois. Architect and artist worked together. Here's what Zumthor says. I had my idea, I sent it to her, she liked it, and she came up with her own idea, reacted to my idea, then I offered to abandon my idea and do only hers, and she said no, please stay. So the result is really about two things. There is a line, which is mine, and a dot, which is hers. Louise's installation is more about the burning and the aggression, and my installation is more about life and emotions. Bourgeois's installation, The Damned, the Possessed and the Beloved, contains an endless flame burning on a steel chair, positioned within a hollow concrete cone. A perpetual flame is often used in memorials, signifying commemoration and reflection. Here it's devoid of any redemptive quality. This is about destruction. And on the right, you see Zumthor's dark, narrow interior. Increasingly, we see spontaneous shrines or temporary memorials. They're about public grief, sharing. Are they also about controlling the aesthetics of something? Some of the objects used have ritual or religious significance. People participate in the making of sites, or perhaps in the making of their sites. Here are some questions to consider. What do you think the phrase counter-memorial means? What is the difference between a memorial and a monument? Is there a difference between a memorial and a shrine? Does a memorial or shrine need to be permanent? Does a public memorial strengthen urban memory? Do memorials have the power to influence society's sociological structure? Do they keep cultural values alive, or change, or destroy them? Who should design public memorials? Do you think memorials should exist? If so, should they be integrated into urban architecture? Take a walk to Whitehall, 10 minutes from Chelsea, and look at the cenotaph. Look out for and photograph memorials, public and private, permanent and temporary. What about memorials from your hometown?